Chafing.
Yes.
Sorry,
I love raw, but brutal. I can't ever use any of the raw stuff that I want to use because it's too abusive.
Yeah, that whole
sad.
whole sentence is not good out of context.
Nice.
It's begun again.
Yes.
Yes. Super fun.
I love it.
Super fun. Hey, I just was experiencing a new game that you taught me, actually.
I did.
So I think I should share your game with you. I think that's fair.
I love it when you share my stuff with me.
Yeah. Just give and give back.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Give backers.
So I'm gonna give you a character, and then you just tell me what class, maybe some class it is, if you really want to get into it.
Oh, geez. Okay.
Yeah, from like a movie or something.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
We'll do rapid fire. So I'll do one, you answer, and then you give me one back.
Okay.
Yeah. Ursula from Little Mermaid.
Oh, geez. It's the undersea warlock.
Okay.
With the tentacle.
The fathom. Yeah, with the tentacles. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alice from Alice in Wonderland.
That is got to. Oh wow, seems like another warlock, but I'm thinking, great old one warlock. Just
gee, yeah.
Drink the potion, Alice. Drink the I'm big.
Alchemist.
No, the cat, the Cheshire Cat's got to be like her ancient one that's reaching out.
Or shaman.
Or shaman. Yes.
Eat the mushrooms.
Eat them. Okay, another quick one for you. Let's do one of your favorites. John Wick.
Oh, obviously he's a vengeance paladin.
Obviously.
Dennis the Menace.
Oh, that's got to be, I think, a Whispers Bard?
Whispers Bard.
He's definitely a bard. He's got mischief, cutting words. But he's got enough charisma to keep Wilson from like actually doing anything really bad to him. So definitely a bard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. What's maybe one more fun one for you? I know you like Disney. What about Scar?
Scar, he's a barbarian.
Ooh.
He's that primal barbarian though, where he can like change his body into different
beast.
Yeah, Path of the Beast.
He's already got claws and fangs. His tail sharpens up into a spine.
No. He's a human. And he's so far along that he turns into Scar when he
he's got all three of them.
Right?
He's just permanent. I'm always angry. That's why he's always angry. Long live the king. Wicked.
Yeah.
Fun.
No, I love it.
Good.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. We'll have to play that game again.
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
I'm sure.
All right, guys. Attention. Well, I should say the note for today says, read out loud exactly what is written on this note or be destroyed and replaced. As usual, welcome to Caffeine and Cantrips, the show where we talk about D&D or else. Well, hey there. I'm Sean, number 168, and I'd like to introduce my custom curated co-host, Byron, number 253.
Hello.
Just for me, custom, bespoke Byron, they say.
That's what they say, folks.
These two sheep-biting malt horses will be cooking with flair. Bam! Coloring outside of the lines. And letting you know that picture of the wall right there, yeah, that one, it's a little crooked. So, join us as we delve into the kitchen of the mind. Grab some seasoning from the pantry and make some brew. Take a sip. Today, we're talking about homebrew.
Ooh.
Welcome back, everyone, to Caffeine and Cantrips. This week, I think you might have noticed that we're talking about homebrew and all things homebrew, designing and running your own homebrew content.
Yes.
Because I know everyone loves it, right? But it's a little bit of a hot topic issue, I think.
Is it?
Well, I mean, some people like homebrew, some people don't like homebrew. Because homebrew can be great, homebrew can be horrible.
Fair.
right? If you're not careful, if you don't do it right,
A little bitter. The sauce is a little bitter. Sure.
a little bitter,
Yes.
just a little.
Can be.
So yeah, I think we're gonna start talking about like what is homebrew, why we want to homebrew. We'll move into like what exactly homebrew is and how to do it. Maybe end off with maybe sort of a cautionary tale when
Oh,
it comes to homebrew,
I do like me a tail.
right? Especially if it's made of caution.
Especially if it's made out of caution. The old catch the tiger
Yeah.
by the caution tail. Cool. Yeah, no. Homebrew is one thing that a lot of us introduce into our games either in a small way or in a big way.
Mhm.
So I think it's good to talk about a lot of those things. That really might fill out some ideas and give you guys some perspective on how to treat some of these things, because they can be very nuanced. They can be very innocent looking on its face. But like we said, the back end's a little terrible. So yeah, no, I like it.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
dig in.
All right. Let's talk about why even homebrew, right? I think everyone can agree that they want their campaign, their games, to be sort of fresh and cool and unique, right? Faerun's nice, but somehow I think it feels good to have your own world. Your
Take a
own
hike at
stuff,
Greenwood.
right? Psh, get out of here. Who needs you? Not me. I've got homebrew. But yeah, we want things to be cool and unique.
Yeah.
And homebrew it's a great tool for that. It's powerful. It can do everything that we need to. And the great thing about homebrew and D&D is that I think homebrew is very much in the spirit of D&D.
Oh, okay.
Right? Like, I mean, if you think about it, role playing is just homebrewing your own stories, right? Your own characters, as opposed to following along with a pre-written sort of script.
Well, it's somebody else's story, right?
Well, exactly.
It's just
yeah.
they get paid for it, and so now it's not considered homebrew. It's got the official stamp on it.
Yeah.
That's the only difference is the stamp, right? Somebody came up with that idea, somebody published it, right? And people played it.
Yeah.
That's really the big difference.
It's out of homebrew.
Yes.
Outside brew.
It's brew.
But homebrew is great though, because
Restaurant brew?
Bar brew. But like when we make that homebrew stuff and we get to sort of play around with it, it's really fun. It makes us feel special. Makes the players feel special. I think like sort of being able to have homebrew stuff, something that's made just for them. And I think that's what's so attractive about homebrew systems and items and equipment that people sort of like. Because D&D is great, but sometimes you just want something that it doesn't quite provide, right? And homebrew is great for that. But as awesome as homebrew is, and this might be a little bit controversial, is that
hot take alert.
if you don't need to homebrew, should you homebrew? Like, you should, maybe the hot take is you should avoid doing homebrew stuff if you don't need to.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you agree with that? I think so.
Should you if you don't need to?
Yeah.
The operative word being need. Probably not. Probably not. Stick to something that is already pre-balanced, pre-understood, something that joins into the collective fantasy that we already all buy into.
Yeah.
I think is probably your stronger bet for sure. It's when we remove that need, when we encounter that need, right? There's something that isn't being fulfilled here. That's when homebrew really kind of jumps in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think homebrewing just for the sake of homebrewing isn't necessarily the best course of action. Like we said, because there are some dangerous waters when it comes to riding the raft of homebrew.
Okay.
Right? So I think if you can get away with it, maybe just reflavor stuff that's already pre-brewed for you in the books. Right? Like, oh, do I really need another weapon that hits extra hard? Can I just reflavor another weapon plus?
Oh, what's
2?
another D8 weapon in 5e, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, but I want it to look like an antique radio. Go ahead. Right?
That would still be a futuristic radio.
Just looks like one.
Yeah, but to them, it would be a very futuristic radio.
Oh, it's just art.
Just art.
It's avant-garde.
Ooh.
Bard weapons.
Ooh.
Bard forged weapon.
A portable accordion. They're all portable.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. And when you hit them, people start to speak like radio announcers.
Wow.
Right, that's the homebrew.
That would be a homebrew. And unless your DM has a good transatlantic accent, I don't think
I have been trying to learn that transatlantic.
That's a little off topic, but yes, that would be a great consideration of forcing people to change
homebrew
accents.
is great, but I think there's a time for homebrew and a time not to homebrew.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
And if you can get away with not homebrewing, maybe don't.
Yeah.
Right? I know there's that temptation to be like, oh, but I want a custom spell. Someone that does this or this, but is there another spell or another effect in the game that already does that? Maybe look for that first before you jump into the homebrew pool. Yeah. Right? So, so that's as an introduction, I sort of, before we really dove into what it takes to homebrew and how to homebrew and sort of the landscape of homebrew, I wanted to sort of preface by saying why, like answering that question of why homebrew and when to homebrew. Right? Yeah. And it's don't homebrew if you don't need to.
That's a really good point. I think I must counter though in needing to homebrew something right now. And I think we need to homebrew those of you who have not fell under our spell. The DC was too high. I'm sorry, you failed. You must dominate. Click the like and subscribe. Support us if you can or want to. We would love to see those thumbs up on our videos. We're getting more every day, and that's wonderful. Thank you for joining the conversation. And our table, it's getting larger every week.
It's crazy.
Kind of awesome. It's kind of amazing. And so we love it. Thank you so much for joining us on this ride. Come check us out on our Patreon. Check us out on Spotify if you don't have enough time to watch, because you're already watching potentially, and it's too late.
Well, if the videos are too long, go ahead, pop on Spotify and listen to it.
Yeah, listen to it while you're on your way to work. Enjoy it, laugh along with us, and make everybody else on the bus feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, join us in our homebrews and become our homebros.
Oh, homebrews for homebros. Brews from a bros. Yeah, no, I think, jumping back into it, I do think that you are correct when we're looking at 5th edition, for instance, what we talk most about. You are correct when you say that barrier of need, right? Is there something out there that already does what it is that we're trying to do? Let's probably take that instead. Right. Even if there's something that is tangentially the same or has a framework or like a skeleton of a system that we can use, let's take that and then just repopulate it with the new ideas. So it's not technically like a full homebrew, right? It's a reflavoring, a repurposing, right? And simultaneously, I would also suggest that when we're looking at systems, 5th edition really is, for kind of lack of controversy compared to other editions, it's very kind of rules light.
You think so?
I absolutely do. I mean, previous editions had whole books just for single classes.
It's true.
Right? Yeah. We haven't seen that in 5th yet.
It's too bad.
I don't know. Yeah. I have parts of me that would agree with that and parts of me that don't. Because it's an open rules light version of Dungeons & Dragons. It's not advanced 5e. Right. It's not whatever. It makes it more accessible for more people to jump onto it and join us having fun playing.
No, that is true. That is true.
And that is a benefit. That more people can jump on, understand, and play it easier without having to run through all the books like you and I love to do and consume the knowledge and get down to the verbiage of certain sentences to see how interactions go.
It says this.
Yes.
This specific temporary HP.
Yes. So I think that there's a benefit to that. Yeah. So on the initial uptake, there's a benefit, but because we're simplifying it, we really also have to understand that there's going to be holes in where the designers of the game have not gone to yet. And if we start encountering those in our campaign, whether we foresee them as the DM and know that they're coming up, or we just kind of slam into them as PCs and look at the DM going, what now? There needs to be some sort of kind of quote unquote fair and accessible rules that should be used by both sides to navigate those waters.
Yep.
Right. And where they don't exist in 5th edition, they probably exist in other games.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. And so when we're talking about repurposing, reflavoring, whatnot, if there's a great set of rules for nautical battles, well, let's bring those on board. Let's convert them to 5th edition. But really the framework, like I said, the skeleton is already there. I just need to repurpose it for this edition. Which dice we roll, how many of these we get, how many of those we get. It's a great way of, yes, homebrewing, but taking from another system to fill a need or a pocket because there doesn't exist anything there.
I like that.
As opposed to just creating all new.
Because it's the hardest part in drawing is putting that first mark on that blank piece of paper, right? So if you start with something that's already sort of there,
yes,
you have like a framework that you can just.
I know for you that's how it works. Stickman's where I end. But so I'm done while you're just like, oh, that's the frame.
Right, but it's nice that you've got something to work with already.
Correct.
Even when you steal from other systems, right?
Yes.
No, I like it.
Yeah, and this is in instance when you say steal from it is system theft, right? But I think we should encourage that if it's going to fill in, definitely purpose, which is probably going to be quality of life.
See, I don't know if it's system theft. Really, you're stealing maybe the concept.
Correct.
But the system, because it's a difference that doesn't work in D&D. You have to translate it into D&D 5e anyways.
Sure, but there's an idea of like, how much of X can this thing do per turn? How much of Y can this thing do? Can you do X and Y? There is a system built in that you're taking kind of a part of and then reflavoring the words.
Okay.
However deep you want to go with it, right?
Yeah. That won't stand up in court.
Do jump in there and do take from other things.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Please do the hard work of making things creative. Don't worry if you don't have to about doing the legwork of actually designing systems, because that's going to be some quicksand that you might develop inadvertently.
Yeah.
Right? Because we're not all system designers. We don't know all the rules. But like you said before, right? It's a great idea to say, well, this doesn't exist. Have you read the DMG?
There's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot in there. Every time I read it, I find something new.
Let me ask you a question. Ooh. Are there rules for called shots, or do I need to homebrew that system?
I'm afraid you need to call on me to make a system for that, because there ain't no called shots in our 5.
I know. Friendship. I've been looking.
Yeah. No, sadly. And that's a great instance where you've seen previous systems, previous Dungeons and Dragons have rules for this. In fact, have maybe too many rules for this and a reliance on it. Okay, sure. But now as we go through the iterations, it's gone.
When I first started 5e, I was so mad that they had no called shot rules.
Well, then we can make some for you.
Yeah.
Don't worry, my guy. Don't worry.
My dude, come on. Get some call shots.
So that's going to be essentially where I want to stop with the preamble, is really just understand that 5th edition is designed to get people on and get them understand kind of the basics and allow you as players in the DM at your table to have a lot of control and a lot of ability to get in there and tweak things so that it can make your world better. Right. For instance, a super kind of knowledgeable one that a lot of people know about or use is healing potions. Can I drink a healing potion as a bonus action? Absolutely. At my table, bonus action, you roll. If you take a full action to carefully drink the entire thing, you just get full value.
Right.
Right. A lot of people know this isn't groundbreaking or whatnot, but this is homebrew. And effectively, it's quality of life. But for me, in this case, it does answer a question and it does fit a need, which I'll get into in a little bit. But in this case, it's a quality of life adjustment that isn't there in the system, but it makes everyone's better and makes your.
What's the system if I just roll over the health potion and crush it against my body as a movement?
Are you a plasmoid?
Well, I've got open wounds.
You do now after rolling across all that glass.
It heals me, right?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, maybe. We'll talk about it. Depends what kind of armor you're wearing. Yeah.
Glass armor now.
Yeah, it's now spiked. So no, I think we need to be honest about what 5th edition is and understand that that's where we're building from.
Yeah.
Right. And then most importantly, as we talk about, you need to communicate this stuff. Hey, I found a need or I found a spot where I don't see any rules. can we make some? Can we create something? Let's work together to design something that fills this, that's fair and equitable for people at the table. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, can I drink 2 potions as an action? Well, you have double quaffing rules, at least at my table, and then you have fun. But that's kind of a thing where, you know, maybe you say no. You don't need to drink 2 potions. That's it. You can drink a potion fast. You can drink a potion slow. You can't drink 2. Sorry.
You don't need to, but you want to.
But you wanna. Yeah. No. And then it creates an engaging decision. How do I spend my turn? How do I do this? Right.
I mean, I think that's part of the beauty of 5e though, because it's debatable whether 5e is my favorite, but it's right up there with second ed. Like I really like second ed. I really like 5th ed too.
Blasphemy.
I know, right?
Blasphemy.
And I think because 5e is actually rules light, so the basics are there. You can do most of anything. And if you want to go more advanced, you can, but that's up to you. Right? And like I said, that's really part of the spirit of D&D, right? It's you should be able to create the game that you want to play. And that's one of the great things about 5e is that they let you. Whereas in older editions, there was less room to customize the actual system to sort of what you wanted to play.
I suppose because there were more rules.
Yeah. Right? Like, well exactly. Like the whole call shot thing. Like, I can make up my own call shot rules. Whereas in second ed, you didn't have to use that rule, but it was already there. So like we said in the preamble, if it's already there, you should probably use it because it's.
And speaking of it, if you guys are familiar with the term called shot, that's specific body targeting or body part targeting on your enemies.
Right. So if they're wearing armor that's AC 16, or back then was, I'm not going to translate it, AC 16 in 5th ed, let's say, okay? And then not wearing a helmet, right? Head, AC 10.
Yeah.
Right. So if you, but it's minus the hit.
Correct.
Call it shot.
Yeah.
But because of the math, it might be easier to shoot an unarmored head.
Yes.
To shoot the
AC if it was a -4 to your shot to shoot just the head, well, the effective AC 14 is lower than the effective AC 16 of the body. So it was easier to hit somebody in just their head than it was to shoot them in the body. And so there was a lot of headshots.
Now that we talk about it, it's pretty complicated.
It's not that complicated.
Comparatively to like everything else in 5th ed. But so is THAC0. So
I guess. But if you're used to half cover and like 3/4 cover, then it's the same thing.
I guess so.
Yeah. There are adaptable systems.
Your head has no cover.
Yeah.
Full cover down here.
Yeah, you're wearing a helmet that's full face. Anyway, right.
Anyways.
These exist.
So yeah. So I think 5e, it's part of the beauty of 5e is that you can sort of mold it into whatever you want it to be systems wise or game wise, even world wise, right? Because it is rules light. I think that's part of the really in terms of systems, gaming systems, rules light is sort of what you want. You want the minimum amount of rules to give you exactly what you need and no more, I think. Because then it gets overly complicated.
There's a line, and I don't think the 5th ed books reached it. I don't think they reached. Yeah, well,
you're a rules guy though. You like rules.
Correct, but also, I mean, just to give an example, the weapons list in the PHB is so boring.
Yeah,
right, and it's because they have less rules that it creates kind of a monotony.
Is there choking rules? There is no choking rules.
There is no choking rules. You would have to make a modified athletics or acrobatics check to
against
grapple and blah, 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 blah.
Constitutional. Anyways, yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, no, there isn't any.
No.
There isn't any. Nor are there knockout rules for like sapping and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, we digress. Moving on.
Yes. But like we said though, if you do work and you're changing homebrew systems, stuff like that, it can get really messy real quick if you're not careful about sort of what you're adding to the systems in the game. So I think if you're doing homebrew, maybe for the first time or something like that, consider sort of non-mechanical effects for your homebrews. Yeah, so things that don't change the game mechanics per se. You're right there.
Yeah.
You're shivering like a
non-mechanics. Yeah. It hurts us.
Right, because like I said, game mechanics, they're designed in such a way that, for better or for worse, Wizards of the Coast have play tested to a certain point, right? So they're They've got some kind of balancing.
Maybe, probably.
In theory. Okay?
Yeah.
Whereas because we don't have UAs, we don't have that kind of stuff when we do our homebrews, the chances of us, if we're not careful, unbalancing things is pretty high. Right? So if you stick to non-mechanical effects, you are not necessarily 100% safe, but you're much safer. Right?
Fair.
So non-mechanical effects would be...
That was going to be my question.
Right? Things like the Cloak of Billowing. Or it exists. It's not homebrew, but that's a non-mechanical effect on the cloak. It just billows on. I will. Does it take a bonus action or something like that?
Yeah, it will. It doesn't do anything but billow. So,
right?
Yeah.
Or the Dread Helm. It doesn't do anything. It just makes your eyes glow and it hides your face.
It hides your face and makes your eyes glow.
Right? And there's lots of stuff like that. But the trick is, if you're making stuff like this, it's got to be, it doesn't have to be, I guess. It's best if you make it, the item or whatever the homebrew thing is, something that the PC or the player cares about. Right? Like, I'm going to give you something that I think is cool, but the player, you don't know if the player thinks it's cool or not. Right? So something that they care about so that there is a good reason to homebrew, because there's still a risk. Right? Like, oh, it billows. People can do stuff with anything. Right? Like, oh, you can't see my face? Great. I'm going to go like raw places wearing the Dread Helm. No one know who I am.
Yeah, because my face is disguised.
Right, but whatever, right?
Can I get extra swim speed if I billow my cape underwater? Because it's...
Right. So
I was going to say your freight train of non-mechanics is coming into the station a little hot.
That's what I said. You're not 100% safe.
No.
But you're much safer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and like I said, have that conversation. Hey guys, this is going to have no mechanical advantage or change to anything that's happened, but flavor-wise, you can say that your eyes glow red and it's harder to see your face. This is not going to add to disguise rolls. This is not going to add to performance. It's not going to add to intimidation. Yeah. Yada, yada, yada. This is just a cosmetic change, period. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
If no, then boop, there goes your helm. Sorry. Right?
I mean, RP effects can have great effects too. It's not mechanical. It's an RP effect. But arguably, it can be even more effective.
Okay.
Because what's this? It's a pin that lets me go into the Kingdom Secret Service area now. And
a pin that you would wear on your lapel. Yeah. Okay.
What other pin would there be?
I don't know, like a pin for a lock, like
a code,
like a pin that you prick your finger on and then
like a pin that you wear.
Yes,
or something, or talisman or whatever, right?
Yeah.
No talisman of pure penetration. No. There's no mechanical effect for the
windows of the Secret Service
for the pin, but there's a great RP effect to it, right? So it doesn't have unbalancing like mechanical effects.
Yeah,
it may have unbalancing RP effects, but you can bring that in much easier, right, than mechanical stuff.
Okay.
You want to say something?
No, I agree to disagree on this, because nobody has a problem halfway down the slip and slide. It's when we reach the end that we have a disagreement between friction coefficients, right? Okay. So when you're on the thing and I'm wearing my Dread Helm and it's super cool and I look awesome and I got red eyes and I'm in the shadows and you can still see the red eyes and it's super creepy and it's awesome. Aren't I scarier now, DM? No. Well, yes, I am. I have red eyes that are glowing in the darkness. That's scarier. No, it's not. Why? Because that has no mechanical advantage. Yeah, well, I'm using my RP.
Because you're in the Underdark and you're with a drow and they're all like that naturally.
They all have red eyes. Yeah, like, okay.
Now they're like, bro.
So, no, I agree with you. I do like the fact that you're trying to increase the vocabulary of somebody's role play. Right. And you're providing them extra tools in the moment so that they can call on these things to increase what it is that they're doing. They can evoke different feelings. Yep. They can do that. But at the end of that gray box, whoever's doing it, right, that they say, I would like to roll for this, or the DM calls for a roll. They're going to say, well, because of those red eyes, because of that billowing, aren't I heroic looking? Doesn't it add to what's happening? If I say no because the thing doesn't say it provides any advantage, then I'm going on to the rule of cool, and the rule of cool is fine, but it's going to change for every single person as to when it hits that and when it doesn't.
And show it so it should.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, you're scarier? Not because you have red eyes, it's because you have no face. In this society, that's really scary.
People without faces are scary? Yeah. Yes, I agree. That is my society.
I'd be terrified. I think there's lots of movies like that.
Yes.
But
face.
Face on. But in another society, they all wear dread helms. It's not scary at all.
Right.
Right? Because they have no faces.
Because they have no faces. So they know where to look on each other. You're right.
Right. So, and that's fine, I think.
It is. But I feel like there's no problem until there is a problem. Because invariably somebody's going to ask for some sort of advantage. And it's up to you to approve or deny or see their point or not see their point. Yeah. But yes.
I mean, the same thing. Can I swim faster because of my billowing cape? No, you actually swim slower. Why? Because you're wearing a cape in the water and it drags.
You don't know me. So fast.
You don't know my capes.
It's Speedo brand.
Speedo capes. It's so tight. Ooh. Oh.
No, but I think we both agree here in this, in a way, right? Like, yes, please do use these things that have non-mechanical benefits to provide more to the people around you as far as descriptions and RP and what you're doing, and use the quote unquote props in your environment to add to it. But perhaps also understand that at the end of it, it's going to require you RPing harder, not just using prop comedy to get what you're asking for at the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think even as like a your first dip into doing homebrew, puffy stuff is great.
Puffy stuff is great.
What stuff?
Puffy.
What's puffy? What's puffy stuff?
Stuff that adds nice keeps you warm. Yeah, fluff.
Okay.
I said puff, but fluff. Yes.
I was like the rapper.
Hey, if you're playing with, I don't even know what his name is today, Diddy. Yeah.
You don't do jingles.
I hear he's notorious though. He don't do jingles.
You don't do jingles. That's a mechanical benefit.
Don't do jingles. No.
But yeah, so I mean, there's RP stuff, and then you can also we talk about reskinning things. Like that's no problem, right? Like, I want my 1d8 sword, but I want it to be a big guitar. Go ahead.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. It's relatively safe. No, again, like anything can be.
Maybe it's not slashing then. Now it's bludgeoning instead. Right. Okay, sure, great.
Well, it's cross sharp edge. Whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or even a class feature. Like I don't want to be like a wizard. I don't want to be magic. I want it to be psionics. Sure, but it's got all nothing mechanically changes. You just do it from your mind, but there's still magic stuff that happens. And
shout out to M. Thaco. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Now
power scores.
Interestingly enough, I would consider like reskinning, like, the Pepsi 1 of homebrewing, right? It's not quite homebrew enough. Right. It's really just reskinning.
Yep.
Hey, I don't want it to be a sword. I want it to be a hook sword. I want it to be a serrated sword. I want it to be a blah, blah, blah. It's still a D8, guys. However you want it to look, it's still that. We're not changing anything. There's no homebrew required because we're not adjusting. We're just reskinning.
Right. It's not two-handed sword. It's a toothpick.
Yes. Or a sailfish.
It's a big toothpick.
He's got a big mouth.
It's big teeth.
Yeah.
It's got big vegetables in his teeth.
Wow. You're crazy. So no, I would consider that those things, yes, are
what race is that guy?
That has that big of a mouth. Giants?
Yeah.
Not playable.
Eating popcorn. It's corn between my teeth.
Yeah.
I said 1d8 damage to my gums. Gosh.
He's a Titan. He's okay.
It's okay.
He'll make it. But yeah, no, I think reskinning is probably entry level to homebrewing.
Right.
And then going forward from that is where you're saying, okay, if this is your first time homebrewing and you're trying to do rules light, then stick to, maybe doing little moves like, this grants you +2 to this or that specifically. Do say like, when you're performing, the cloak of billowing, yeah, sure, I'll give you a +2. But that's it. Not when you're intimidating. It doesn't work if you're intimidating. It doesn't work if you're doing nature checks. It doesn't work if you're whatever, right?
Right.
Here's where I'm going to go, and I'm going to create a small benefit for it.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably somewhat negligible, but a small benefit.
Right.
And then stick there. If it's your first time homebrewing, do some cool stuff, sure, but keep it little. And then as you get more comfortable, feel free to do some crazy stuff.
Do you think there's enough value though to doing small things?
Hell yeah.
To make it worth it?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's true. If people have more fun, but that's enough value it is to add that little homebrew item to the things. Okay, cool. It's funny.
Yeah, what's funny?
Because you know what else has value?
Well, you have value.
Aww. But more value than me is you guys out there. You guys have the most value. I just want to let you guys know. We value you. We value your likes and subscribes, but only if you feel we've provided you value.
Hopefully the editor is providing us a charisma bonus by having some cool music, some like soft, jazzy kind of, maybe just something. Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll see.
Hopefully. We'll see. DC's going up.
Our editor is pretty amateur, so we'll see.
He's getting there. No, it's interesting that you asked, do small things stack up to being worth it? I absolutely think that they do.
Like, is it worth the risk?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And progressionally, I think it's going to be very important to understand what +1 does.
Okay.
Right. So
like a +1 sword or something.
Like a +1 sword, a +1 to checks, a +1 to saves.
Right.
What is the value of +1?
Because eventually you're going to want to play with.
Well, eventually you're going to want to play with +2. Eventually you're going to want to play with +5. Eventually you're going to want to play with +10.
Oof.
When you're doing that, knowing what the impact of that is, once again, when we go back to the system, we know that 5e is a bonded accuracy system. It's not designed to get these massive pluses like Pathfinder does.
Do we know what is, for the people who may not know, what is bounded accuracy?
Bounded accuracy means that the range of benefits that you can generate is smaller.
Right.
Is that fair?
Yeah. Yeah, right, the plus and the minuses.
The plus and the minus, the range of the plus and minus becomes smaller.
Right.
We're doing alligator motions if you're on audio only. But it becomes smaller so that smaller numbers have a bigger impact.
Right.
Okay.
As opposed to compared to other systems.
As opposed to ones where there's this constant numbers go up, numbers get bigger consistently as you go through. For instance, the best armor in the game, if you're just using the PHB, is plate mail. And that's it.
Right.
18, that's as high as it goes. Boom. There's no 25 plate mails, 30 plate mails, 50 plate mails. None of that. It's 18 and that's it.
Plus 10.
Wow. So when we're talking about these things, the part that the value of +1 can describe,
Sorry, I was just thinking about a plate mail billowing with that.
Disadvantage? Well, you just don't even roll. It's a nat 1.
You said no mechanical differences, right?
Yeah.
Somebody shut up that guy.
No, it's an intimidation check. He's coming. I can hear it coming. When we're doing these small numbers, you mentioned before, and we haven't touched back on it yet, but you want to make things special.
Yes.
And so one of the things, the exciting part of doing homebrew, whether it's small, medium, or large kind of rules and rule sets that you're doing, is that you can create unique and specific solutions to the character, to the story, to the rule set that specifically influence what's going on, right? And so, your character wants to be a survivalist. So in their backstory, they've written extra stuff. They took proficiency in it. Sure, great, whatever. They took Pappy's, skinning kit. Okay. Yeah, he's Pappy's skinning kit.
Pappy's like, where's my skinning kit?
Where's my skinning kit go, boy?
Boy, you see my skinning kit?
Oh, girl, give me back my skinning kit. Yes, so you took that. Hey, you know what? I'm just going to say, whenever you're rolling a survival check to break down whatever animal you hunted, I'm going to give you +2. Right?
Yeah.
Right. And in whatever you're doing, however you're going about it, you've got tools that you're used to, that you've trained with, +2 to feeding the party and providing that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Isn't huge. It's not going to have a huge mechanical benefit on necessarily the role play, necessarily the combat, no combat kind of maneuver, but exploration, providing for the team. Maybe that's generating extra portions of food because you can do better skinning and lose less meat, whatever it is. I don't want to go too far into it, but using that to reinforce what it is that the character says that they're good at further provides that show, don't tell of what's going on to further bolster that character's impact on the world and how they see their interactions with the world. Is it a huge change? I can skin better than you because I'm used to the tools that I'm using? No.
Right.
It's not.
It's a huge change because I'm better than you.
Well, I'm a little bit better. But on a roll of D20, +2 is a 10% flux. Okay.
Significant.
It can be, but a bad roll is still a bad roll. And it's not going to change it. It's going to scoot you over the edge, perhaps, and be that little bump that you need, but it's not necessarily going to bring it home for you. Right. But what it does do is it fits a specific solution to a question. Right? Or to a problem. How do I make my character more interesting and more dynamic in the world to be able to show, not tell, that I'm good at skinning?
Right.
And so when we're creating homebrew,
I'm not good at skinning. I just have Pappy's kit.
I got Pappy's kit for now. That's the BBG. Pappy's coming down the mountain.
Where's my skinning kit?
She did it. Yes. So when we're creating this stuff, I think we have to really delve into the 5 W's, right? Who, what, where, when, why.
Okay.
We all know the 5 W's. How is going to be separate?
I was like world, wide.
World. Right. Because we've identified, or we have to go in with what is needed to fill the gap in the rule set as it is, or what am I trying to specifically accomplish with this homebrew item that I can't get from somewhere else in the book. Right.
Yep.
Even if it's a Holy Avenger, but since you guys are only tier 1, it doesn't have the pluses yet. It's not a +3 longsword. Right now, it's just a magical longsword because you guys are level 5 and I don't want to give you a +3 item.
Right.
You can make it more righteous through your deeds. Oh, cool. Right. That's the homebrew that I'm going to do. I'm going to give you something cool and more powerful, but I'm going to take away some of it. And I'm going to give it to you over time to build the item with your character. Awesome set of homebrew. Right. Awesome. And more balanced for everybody else, because balancing is an issue that we'll probably talk about in a bit. But going through and identifying the 5 W questions about the what you're doing, right, is very important. The how is probably the most important of all of them, right? How does this fit then? Because you're introducing something into your world, into your game, right? How does this fit to the story? How does this fit to the world? How does this fit to the scope of what we're trying to do? And it needs to enter into all 3 of those things, right? Are you the first person to ever make a skinning kit? No. Everybody, all the trappers and all the furriers, pelt guys. I don't know what you call them. Furriers? Not furries, but it's a different kind of
someone hunting all the furries and skinning them.
Yeah, no.
Oh gosh,
we love furries. No. So when we're talking about it, right? Is it unusual to then say, hey, trappers have toolkits that are skinning tools? Great. Pappy's kit is just a skinning toolkit. Oh, wait, there are rules for tools in the game. Why did I go ahead and create a +2 thing? Blah, 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 blah. It makes no sense. I could have just taken skinning tools and they're Pappy's skinning tools. So that has role play effects, but the mechanics are already established. Why did I go and make a +2 system for it? Right.
Unless it's a tool that gives you proficiency and a +2.
Right. That's the addition that the homebrew is.
But if you didn't think about that, and some players like, dude, it's a +4 now. Right? So
yeah, no, it can get out of hand. But answering those questions will help you identify what it is that you're like, what hole it is that you're filling in the system and why you're filling it.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And then as long as you can answer how it gets implemented into the world, And is it fair that everybody has access to it? Or is it just this one PC? Or is it they stole a crystal that powers, magical spells, right? But everybody's got these. You're not the first one to have a magic spell crystal. So the scope of the world and the world itself is still in balance with the PCs having an extra crystal that can cast extra spells, right? That they stole from another wizard or whatever. Okay, cool. So as long as we can go through and we can answer those questions more clearly, then I think it's fair to move forward with the creation process.
Okay.
And one of the things that I really suggest once you get more comfortable with homebrewing is make sure that nothing is free. There's no free lunch.
There's no free meals here.
Create things that have something interesting about them.
Right.
Really get into the nuance of the conversation that you're having, either player to DM or character to character, whatever it is, when you're making these things and when you're making mechanics, to add a little weight to the decision to use them.
Yep. No, I really like that idea.
Right. And whether that weight or that cost or that negative effect, let's call it perhaps, maybe that's non-mechanical, right? Oh, you use this sword because this sword is sharp, Blood Drinker the Third, whatever it's called, right?
Right.
But it makes you a little bit bloodthirsty. Not in any mechanical sense. I just want you, after using the sword where you've drawn blood, you need to still be a little bit aggressive in your RP. You need to still be, and that's the drawback, is that maybe that's going to continue. Maybe that's going to develop into something else. Maybe that's the character arc that you want to isolate them a little bit more and you want to do this, but then they can overcome the curse of the blade and blah, blah, blah. Or maybe they don't know and they're just angry after they fight for no reason. And they have to understand that Pappy's longsword is actually a cursed blood drinker, blah, 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 blah. Right. And what that means, what Pappy might have been. Could have been one of the old knights.
It's a skinning kit. It's actually just a big sword.
Yeah.
He likes the skin so he can drink the blood.
There you go.
No, I like it. It makes me think of our previous episode where we talked about Dan Harmon's story circle.
Yes.
Where you get what you want, but you pay a heavy price. It adds meaning to whatever that item is. It adds meaning to that decision to use that item.
And the greater the power that it gives you, the greater the cost it should be.
Yeah.
And so I've developed a few magical items. In my current campaign, I haven't handed out any published magical item. Everything that I've given to the party has been a custom item that I have created specifically for a purpose that relates to the story.
Okay.
And because of that, I think it adds a lot to the world building, which we're not talking about here today. We're just talking about smaller stuff. But I think when it goes in there, it blends seamlessly with what's going on.
Okay.
So that you don't have that cognitive dissonance of kind of, well, why doesn't everybody have a Holy Avenger if it's so easy to get one of these? Or why doesn't everybody have powering up weapons? Or why doesn't no, because this is unique and special. Right. And when you answer those who, what, where, when, whys, right, you understand that who and why get to go to this person because they're telling a specific story, and this can be an interesting object for them to interact with as they continue to tell the story.
Right.
Right. So I think homebrew needs to answer that in game. It needs to be responsible for creating more interesting choices. Right. Like I said, with drinking your potion, do you risk taking minimal dice rolls, but getting it in as a bonus action and still hacking away 2 or 3 times at the opponent? Or do you really need the health? So you're going to spend the time to take the whole potion, right? And then hopefully that's going to be enough to keep you up until the cleric can get round to you because they got to, res people or bring them back up or whatever it is, right?
Sounds like your party's in a bad way.
I do like to stretch them. But if it's not creating interesting decisions, then does it need to be there? Right. And once again, there's that need word, but does it need to be there?
Right.
I think is going to be one of your more powerful questions when we're talking about this kind of stuff. And as always, if you're a DM and a player is bringing up something to you, really entertain that conversation so that you can understand why they're bringing it up. What is going on with them that they are not satisfied with the rules as is?
Right. What's the need that they're trying to fill?
That they're expressing. Right. And if you don't understand what that is in that conversation, you need to pinpoint it. What is it about the system that you're missing?
Right.
Right? How would you go about fixing that? Oh, you've created this item. Why don't you think of something and build it, and then we'll talk about it and we'll revise it and we'll find that happy median place.
Right.
Or, you know what? That's a little too powerful now. Would you be happy with half that now and half that later? And yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
Go back and forth. Do create that really supportive conversation, because I think in terms of players, I think that there could be potentially a lack of knowledge of the rules, right? We normally expect our DMs to have more knowledge than the players of just kind of the rule set.
And typically players don't read the DMG.
They're not required to.
No.
Nor is a DM required to, but it definitely helps.
The DMs aren't required. Well, I guess not. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
All you need is a PHP to run the game.
Yeah.
Really, all you need is a PHP. If you want to get into the fancy stuff, that's what the DMG is for, and so on and so on. But ultimately, they're expressing perhaps a desire for additional knowledge. And you go, oh, okay. Well, hey, guess what? There is a system. I'll loan you my DMG this week while we're not playing so that you can read it. It's on this page. I'll bookmark it for you. Have a read. See if that answers the question, and then move on. Then we don't need to homebrew anything. We can just use the established system as is. But you have to understand that in the conversation. So do go into the conversation with an open mind. Get in there, understand what it is that they need to fix, answer those 5 W's, answer those 5 W's with them, if possible.
Yep.
And then figure out how to implement it if they've actually identified a need.
Right.
Yeah. And I think really that's super, well, I don't know if that was a short version or not, but that's pretty much everything you need to know as far as I'm kind of concerned when you're making. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Right? The bigger the benefit, I think without reining it in, you're just creating yourself havoc in the future if you just throw out power spikes for people.
Well, I think the trick is to know how big the benefit or how small the benefit actually is. Right? Because you might think that it's only this much, but the scope of it could be much bigger. Right? Especially if you're dealing with fundamental things.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
So I think that's the crux of it.
It is.
But I think that's where your point comes from earlier, where you said keep up that dialogue and keep tweaking things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
No, this is version 1. There's nothing saying it can't be version 1.1.
Yeah.
Hey, I noticed after that session, I didn't realize that if you're rolling average or higher, that item actually breaks through all of my persuasion checks. Like my NPCs just can't stand up to how righteous your character looks with his billowing cloak.
Right. Or this item lets you reroll 3s on your hit dice.
Just 3s.
Just 3s. But with the right feats, it's 1s and 2s. And 3s.
And 3s. I built around it and I optimized the thing. Yeah. Now my D4s are just 4s, baby. No. So there are things that you don't foresee because there are enough rules that there's enough weird rule interactions that you are allowed to miss things, right? The system isn't perfect. You're not perfect.
Yeah.
Feel free to roll back and say, hey, I want to talk about how powerful this actually is because I didn't think it was, but in practicality, it is. And I think it's only fair because we created it that we adjust it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I mean, speaking of things that aren't fair.
This podcast.
What? I was going to say the CR system, but...
Well, being forced to do this podcast.
Oh, being forced, yes. Yeah. Being teleported against our will. Oh.
Forgot about that already.
Woe is... I did. I was.
Yes, he loves it so much, it's not even a burden anymore.
No, I'm just pretty used to it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Maybe I just have Stockholms. But anyway, getting back on the...
I love you guys so much. I don't know why. Just after spending 19 episodes with you, I just have a...
Oh, God, it is 19.
Right? Well, like some billowing attraction to you.
Some dread helmed.
Straight up. I love it that you guys have no face. I can't see your face.
It's true.
It used to be frightening. Now it's just so attractive. I just, getting hot under the collar. Ooh.
Speaking of broken systems, yes, the CR system. I will go back to that. Yeah, no, the CR system is a great example of something that is written that is workable, but trash. Right?
Workable trash.
Workable trash, yes. It does have a progressional state to it. It is a written down system. There's additional tables to support it if you are homebrewing or customizing your creatures to adapt them to different CRs. but it's really a guideline. We as DMs and or players, probably more DMs, will have seen encounters with low CR, TPK parties, encounters with higher CRs get trashed by lower level parties. There's too many options in the player verse that the CR system can't deal with.
Yeah.
Right? There's just too many options being thrown at a simplified system that it just can't handle all of the nuance and all of the things going on, especially with the eventual but consistent power creep that happens in every game system.
Well, who knows? Like the perfect combination of this context with this context just makes it so that the players could not ever win, right? Or the bad guys just being destroyed, right?
Sure. Or the goblin that came out 8 books ago hasn't undergone an update, right? So it's still the goblin that's versus the PHB and the DMG. Yeah. But now you have Tashas, and now you have Xanathars, and now you have Fizbins, and now the goblin is still the goblin, but the PC options are now much wider. Like I said, there is that eventual power creep that always just kind of happens.
Goblins are freaking awesome, guys.
Goblins are pretty awesome, but they're falling behind. Reach out, help a goblin near you. And when you're helping them, it's time. This is more DM specific, but also have this conversation. If you're a player and your DM doesn't watch, get them to watch, get them to like, get them to subscribe. But beyond that, when we talk about CR is effectively just like a difficulty rating of the creature.
Yep.
PCs, we have our levels. That's our difficulty level. The higher the level we are, the harder we are to kill in general.
Right. Yep.
So when we break this down, in general, you're a fifth level is more power than a fourth level in general, than a third, than a second, than a first.
Yeah. But like
a commoner.
Like a fifth level is not another fifth level. They're all different fifth level, right? You know what I mean?
Which is exactly like the CR system that
not all
CR5s.
Not all CRs are the same kind of CRs.
No, what is it?
Not same kind of Cs.
CR friggin' 3 Clay Golem can kill a Tarask. Like anyway. There are specific iterations that don't work. Yep. So when we're talking about this as DMs, as players, really start to look into the nuance of things that we look past all the time and start asking why more. This will be the first question in the W's. Why isn't there more of this? Or why do they say it like that? And why haven't I thought more about what the strength number, what does that mean? For instance, when we talk about why can't an ogre who's a large creature and has 19, 20 strength, why can't it pick up your medium or smaller size PC and just throw them? Just pick them up and huck them across. Well, because there aren't rules for it. Yeah, okay, but there is now, right?
Because the character holds on for dear life.
Holds on to,
don't you dare throw me, bro.
Don't throw me. Well, yeah.
No.
You're right. So why can't we just say that, oh no, this creature does have size, it does have weight, it does have strength. And it's not an 18 strength man, it's an 18 strength large creature, right? These two are not comparable directly. Right. So why can't it just do that? Oh, it's super dexterous. Why can't it just slip around you a little bit easier? Why can't it be more acrobatically inclined, right? Super constitution. Why can't it just eat the whole health potion, glass and all, Lou Wilson style, and just con your way through life?
Yeah.
In a good way. When we start to dig into things that we just kind of automatically bypass and automatically read, like what is AC? Why is plate mail 18 and breastplate is 15? And like these kind of things. When you start asking these questions, we start digging into the system, it does fall apart into really wide gaps very quickly. But that then creates the opportunity for you as a player or a DM to fill those gaps with interesting nuance, right? And simultaneously, when we're talking about the DM side, filling your NPCs and your monsters with more nuance.
Right.
Why can't the captain have one legendary action? It's just one legendary action per round. It's not huge necessarily, but it does add to the mystery and the influence that the captain has earned his ability to do more in a single round. He can yell at another goblin and get it to poke you again, or he can reposition, or he can call out some sort of tactic, shoot the mage, right?
Right.
Because he knows to shoot the wizard in the back, stop hitting the guy with the shield and the plate mail in the front. These sorts of things, will allow you to kind of dig in more to the lore of the world and to specific sorts of needs. I need my fights to be more interesting. I need my fights to be more tactical. I need my fights to just not get steamrolled by my Twilight and Peace Cleric combo, right? Like, okay, yes, then let's create a specific and a unique response to this that's going to create more engagement and more interest.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, if you do have veteran players, not so much for new players, but for veteran players, you disrupt their meta knowledge because all of a sudden they go, "Oh, goblins can't do that."
Right.
How did he do that? And so all of a sudden they go, "Oh, I don't know what they can do." With a small tweak, you send people spiraling because as soon as they think that they don't know what they know,
but
yeah, when they confirm that they think they know, they don't know anymore, it goes through their heads and it kind of messes them up a little bit. And this is a great thing that you can do in a small way just to make the game seem more interesting and more entertaining to people who know it all.
So just basically adding a little homebrew to your creatures.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And once again, I have never used a single stat block in my game without adjusting it ever so slightly.
Right.
Just to create the ability for people to be surprised or for people to have to question every time they go into a combat, what preparatory work have we done?
I mean, all of a sudden, roll a perception check. You notice that the goblin captain is wearing a Secret Service pin. Well, then you, right?
Yeah.
Non-mechanical, but it's still, your players are like, what the?
Yeah.
What do I do now?
Yeah.
Are we on the same team or did you just steal that?
You notice that the entire goblin tribe,
Secret Service.
their capes billow and the wind isn't blowing.
Right. And there's some goblins swimming upstream towards you.
Swimming upstream against the current. Against the current. They're cape powered, baby. Yes, what is happening here?
Cape-powered goblins.
Is a great question that's going on here, right? So I know at MCDM, Matt Koval has done a ton of things that create more interesting combats, how to create progressional combats, how to add in legendary saves, legendary actions, whatnot. There is really great systems out there that exist that you can just go and emulate and add to what you're doing. But ultimately, one unique and specific solution is to break meta knowledge. And I think that can be really, really fun for longtime players.
Yeah.
Because then you're just busting status quo.
Right. Then you're not like, because it's the most boring thing when you know everything and everything goes as expected. Right.
They should have a round of 13, 14 AC and about 25 hit points. Okay. So I know that this guy's taking about 20 points of damage. So if I Divine Smite on him this round, it's just going to be wasted. It's boring, or it's more boring.
Yeah.
Right. But learning as they go through the fight is very interesting. And it's a great way to keep people entertained in what's going on.
Right.
Yeah. So.
No, that's interesting. Still, though, do you think you'll run the risk of, again, making all of a sudden unintentionally making the fights way too difficult because of something you added?
No. And once again, I think it's because you start small. Right?
Okay.
I'm going to learn how they deal with little tweaks before I do big tweaks. I'm going to reevaluate the monsters that I was going to have in the next combat. Oh, look, they're trolls. They're bigger. They're stronger. I am going to have them act more as just regenerating meat bags that do damage. Right? I am going to have them pick up a PC and throw them. I am going to have them, dive into water anytime that they see fire. I am going to have them, react to the world in a believable way that isn't hidden in the stat block.
Right.
But read the stat lines as a story and try to figure out what the story is trying to tell me so that I can create methods that don't necessarily exist that are believable.
Right.
And do fit the mold and do fit the world of what's going on so that it can be a better story and it can be a better encounter.
Right.
Right. Or no, trolls I read it. They're actually smart enough to not just dive into combat.
Right.
Oh.
Right.
Okay. Well, now there's a whole talky talk section that we can do before we do fighty fight.
Right.
And that could make this way more interesting. Right. Oh, they're just hungry. Okay, well, if we just give them some rations, then we don't have to worry about fighting trolls as a low-level group of PCs.
Right.
Simultaneously, oh, no, I just want to hack off the arm and I want to grow my own troll back home. That part doesn't work either. But, okay, cool.
How much of the troll do I need to do that?
The biggest part.
Oh, just the chest area?
Just whatever you're left with, the biggest part is the one that grows back.
Is that the
I think that's it.
official? Yeah. So you can cut
that's
up a whole...
the official.
Just cut up and just mash it all and just keep a finger.
Yeah.
Easy to carry.
A whole
right?
finger, yeah, and bring it back.
Huh. That's pretty brutal, actually.
I mean, or if you're really looking for it, a great little encounter for you DMs out there, and watch out PCs. Stop listening for like a minute. Giants that debone trolls, stuff them into barrels, and then siege a city with them by throwing all the barrels into the city.
Right.
The defenders don't deal with it because there's an army of giants or what there, but then the trolls regenerate and grow, and then they're inside the city. Well, then you can pack them into nice tight.
Now the city has just free meat forever. The siege is gonna last way longer now.
Humans tend not to get into troll meat. Tend to, but when in a siege.
Yeah, but if they have Pappy Skinning Kid.
Pappy done came down from the mountain. Troll for days.
Oh,
tastes like chicken.
Right. Speaking of Pappy's Skinning Kid,
chicken.
Right. I think when you're doing homebrew, you really have to worry. I don't worry, but be really aware of those.
Be cognizant, absolutely.
Of those unintended consequences.
Yes. And that comes only with experience, and how devious your players are.
They can be super devious.
Super devious.
I think that's the funnest players are the most devious players.
They're entertaining / frustrating / enjoyable.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even the most innocuous homebrew items can be super fun, but you have to be careful with them. Even with the pre-established ones, like a billowing cape, right? We've got a whole tribe of goblins wearing billowing capes. Now our PCs have slaughtered them, took the billowing capes, and they've made a powered boat out of it because they just put it in the water, it just billows and pushes their boat around.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's.
No, I would say though that I think the most broken things that I've encountered beyond really ridiculous homebrew,
right,
is the actual written content.
Yes,
written in bad ways that open the door for some
raw is the most.
Raw is chafing.
Yes,
sorry,
I love raw, but brutal. I can't ever use any of the raw stuff that I want to use because it's too abusive.
Yeah, that whole sentence is not good out of context. But go on, you were saying consequences.
Consequences, right? Because people will abuse them when they can,
mm-hmm.
and if you let them,
mm-hmm.
right? And there's even things that seem harmless at first, sometimes can really unbalance the game. Like I just get to reroll 3s
mm-hmm.
on my damage rolls. Like that seems innocuous enough. 3s, sure, it's one number out of however many, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in the greater context, now it's super imbalanced because they roll 1, 2s, and 3s because of that specific feat, right? Fighting style.
Yeah.
Yes. And the problem is that if you try to walk things back,
mm-hmm.
if it's not done
in a more conscious method,
in a cooperative manner,
definitely,
it can feel super bad.
Yeah.
Like, here's a really awesome thing. You enjoyed it because it's super OP.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that's way too OP. I'm going to take it back. And as a player, you're like, but we agreed to this. And
yes.
Right. So it feels bad. Even though it's unbalancing, it still feels bad
mm-hmm.
as the player if that happens to you.
The why is important then in the communication.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And it goes back to that whole having that dialogue.
Mm.
Right. Like, hey, it's too OP in this way. Hope you want to know. Let's work together. Let's figure out a way to rebalance it.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and one of the ways that you can rebalance things when things get out of hand is not necessarily to change the mechanic itself or the item itself, but maybe limit the scope.
Yeah, of everybody at your table. Just get rid of them.
Right? Just
new table.
Right? Limit the scope of the ability. Maybe you roll 3s, you can reroll 3s, but not all the time. Only maybe in a specific situation.
1 per turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Then it doesn't feel quite as bad because as a player, I understand I still have my shiny toy. I just can't play with it in as many places as I could before, but I still get to play with it.
Yes.
What's so funny about that?
I just, I'm on board.
Okay. Yeah, but you laugh like I...
Well, you're an entertaining guy. I am custom curated to co-host.
Oh, yeah. So. Bespoke Byron. Yes. I like it. I need more bespoke Byrons. Maybe you'll be lucky to have a bespoke Sean.
One day.
Yeah.
One day.
But yeah, limit the scope and then figure out a way mutually to keep the fun while rebalancing it, right? And it's just about, I think, working with that spirit of cooperation with your players, right? To be like, hey, I don't want to take away your fun. I know this is awesome, but you guys have to also agree that it's so abusable that we can't keep this.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, I mean, I guess that's sort of that final warning. If you're building something, try to imagine all the different ways of that sort of piece of homebrew content can be used in your campaign.
Well, and depending on your community that you've cultivated around you, if you play at multiple tables, at one of the other tables, drop the idea and say, how would you guys abuse this?
Right.
Right. Yep. Start just crowdsource answers, right? Jump on Reddit. How would you abuse this?
Yeah.
Right. And people will figure it out how to do it. And if that's acceptable, great. If it's not, no worries.
And truth be told, I love abusing things mechanically in D&D.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Context.
Come on. No, I love D&D mechanics. It's like a hobby of mine. I love finding things that could be sort of pulled to its furthest sort of range of use into ridiculous situations, right? So if you guys had a homebrew item, feel free to put in the comments and like, hey, how do you, Sean, Byron, how would you abuse this? Right? And I'll find a way.
Oh, even if you recall when we brought up the the talisman of pure fenestration, it was 6 seconds before you figured out that you just have to carry around a window frame with you.
Just flap it over,
just flap it over people.
I love it.
Right? It doesn't take long when
you
crowdsource it, especially with jerks like us. Yeah, no, for sure.
No, make my day.
Yeah.
Just add that in the comments. No?
Yeah.
Well, that's it, I think.
It is indeed.
Yeah. I love it. No, that was really quick, actually.
It feels like it.
What you looking at?
No, I just homebrewed the clock so it ran faster.
You can do that.
Yes. Yes, I can.
Yes, I can. I'm going to homebrew the viewers again.
Oh.
So that they really enjoyed our content.
Nice.
Right? And they'll finish this video having had an enjoyable time and have a better day or evening after watching. That's my homebrew.
Nice.
For our podcast.
Super cool.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed today's talk. I enjoyed you guys being here with us. I guess this is goodbye for this week. This is Caffeine and Cantrips.
Yes, that was Sean.
This is
I'm Byron. We are, of course, Caffeine and Cantrips. Let us know what your favorite homebrew is.
Or else.
Can I get some? Who wanna get it? Let me get some. Come and get it. Can I get it? First
Brew.
Let me get some.
That's a lot of creep.
It's a lot of E's and A's.
Who wanna get it? Let me get it now. Come and get it now. First come, first serve. Let me get it now. First come, first serve. Let me get it now. Wanna get it? Come and get it. Eager to please rap kids with a 16 or a 24. Spit it.